At the end of this video, we'll take a look at MadRamp's innovative pivoting ramp system, the safer, easier way to transport your ATVs and snowmobiles. Stick around. Before we begin, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our friends at the historic Lancaster Motel in Lancaster, New Hampshire. The Lancaster Motel has been serving snowmobilers since the 60s, and they are the perfect eastern trail riding destination for snowmobilers young and old. The Lancaster Motel is right on Corridor Trail 5 in Lancaster, New Hampshire, with plenty of parking for vehicles, sleds, and trailers. Plus, the Lancaster Motel is within walking distance of Crane's Snowmobile Museum, plus restaurants, shopping, entertainment, and more. Click the link in the description to learn more about the Lancaster Motel. Good evening and welcome to the podcast. I'm really glad you're here. We're going to get started here in just a second. Before we do, though, I want to make sure that everything is working properly. If you can see this face and if you can hear this voice, I'm going to ask you to make a comment in the comment section to let me know that you can hear everything okay. Just say, my name is Jim from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, if that's where you're watching this from. So yeah, if you could make those comments for me, just let me know everything is working okay. While you're doing that, I'm going to take care of a couple of things. First, though, I'm going to show you what we've got on the podcast tonight. We're going to do some new things tonight. We're going to be bringing some people on live. In a minute or two, we're going to have Brian Robillard on. He's going to show us his Ski-Doo collection. And then a little later, we're expecting David from OMC Warehouse. And I'm still... I think there might be a little bit of a mix-up. He might have something going on, so we don't have him lined up just yet, but hopefully he'll come on the show here so that he can show us his OMC sleds, parts, and so on. Also, we are doing things a little bit differently this week. I'm having a technical issue with Facebook, so we're only on YouTube tonight. We're on a couple of YouTube channels that I do. Number one, let me find the graphic. Number one is the Wheels, Keels, and Snowmobiles YouTube channel. That's where I believe most of you are viewing this from, because I've been promoting this channel on Facebook to try to get some of my Facebook viewers to come and join us on YouTube. Also, this is airing on the Backcountry Journal YouTube channel, which is another YouTube channel I do. And I haven't been promoting that one as much, but hopefully we'll get a few viewers from there as well. Let's check the comments, see if people can see us and hear us. Jeff Nix says, yes, he can. Brody also can hear, and he is from Henderson, Minnesota. Outstanding. I'm glad to hear we've got a good connection. Let's switch screens here. We're about to bring Brian Robillard on. Let me see if I remember how to do this. He should be one click away here. 2 clicks. Hey there, Brian. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. I'm really glad you're on tonight.
Me too. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Go ahead.
So this right here is my 1987 Ski-Doo Citation. It was inherited from my grandfather. We used to ride around the fields on it when I was younger and everything, and I used to actually ride around with my grandmother on the back because she was too afraid to drive it.
Nice.
Yeah, we used to just drive around the fields here at my grandfather's house, which is actually the property I'm at now because my parents purchased it. But I had been interested in going to the Vintage Snowmobile events. Last year was the first year I was actually able to attend them. And I talked to my grandfather previously about bringing it, and he said, "Oh, I don't care. It's your snowmobile. Do what you want."
Sure.
So the next day I saw him, he started asking again, "Hey, so you're going to bring the snowmobile to the show?" I'm like, "I don't know, Grandpa. Just talked to you about it yesterday." And he kept that up for a couple more days. So I decided I was going to bring it no matter what. And a few days after that conversation, he actually passed away. This was in January of last year.
Yeah.
And then I went to the Crane show in February, the first weekend of February. And luckily, I was able to attend that, and we all had a good time there. And more than grateful that I was actually able to get second place in my class.
Wow.
So
that's amazing. So I'm sure he's looking down on all of that and being very proud of you, I would imagine.
I sure hope so.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Brian, before you continue, one thing I forgot to do is I wanted to ask our viewers to comment on this. If they have any questions for you or comments about the sled, or I'd like it if they could let us know whether or not they can see your sled. So anyone viewing this, if you could comment, we would really love it. And yeah, continue, Brian. I didn't mean to cut you off there. Please continue.
Oh, that's okay. I'll actually do a walk around to the sled just so everyone can kind of see it right now. Like I said, the 87 Citation has never been restored. Nothing's ever been changed on it. It's all original except the windshield, which I ended up breaking when I was a kid. I drove into one of the apple trees.
Oh, no.
So we didn't have to replace that. But besides that, everything else is fully original on it.
Nice.
We just walk around and show you guys the sled. Let me get. I can actually open the hood for you.
Yes, please do.
So, yeah, nothing's been painted. It's just been cleaned up, polished.
Yeah, that's
very common for the Citations. You can actually see where you get the burn mark on the toolbox cover.
Yes.
But yeah, and then I don't know why my grandfather had that little piece of tin over the exhaust.
Sure. Yeah.
I left it there just because it's something that he put on. He was very influential in getting me into the snowmobile. So
Nice.
I got his first snowmobile also, which is a 72 Elan. I started riding that here at his house probably around 4 or 5 years old. So he and my father got me into the snowmobiling at a very young age.
Nice.
And I've definitely been hooked on it ever since.
Awesome. Now, were they brand loyal to the Ski-Doo brand, or is that just coincidence that they were both Ski-Doos? Or
they preferred the Ski-Doos, but my grandfather had the 72 Elan, 250 single cylinder, and then he ended up purchasing this 87 Citation. Right before I was born, my father bought an 88 Ski-Doo Safari 377, which I also still have.
Nice.
So it's just what they preferred.
Sure.
I actually have, let me think about it, 2 Polarises, an Arctic Cat, and then the rest are Ski-Doos.
Nice. So you've got a mix of them.
Yeah, a little bit of a variety.
Nice. Oh, Jeff Nix is asking us how many miles are on this sled.
It's very, very few. My grandfather never took it anywhere. It was just ridden around a 3-acre field, once a couple times a year. So it's very, very low on mileage.
Very nice. Good deal. Yeah. Thank you, Jeff, for asking that question. We appreciate it. And I recognize you, Jeff, from other podcasts. So I appreciate you being a repeat viewer here. But yeah, please continue, Brian.
There. Yeah, so last year I ended up taking up the Cranes. Then after Cranes, we ended up going to Bear Brook. which I went there with my wife, my friend, and his son, and we all had a good time there. So I hope to continue this. Snowmobiling has been a hobby for me ever since I was very little. But definitely doing these vintage events, definitely interested in, and it's something I want to keep continuing going.
Nice. Yeah, those are a lot of fun, aren't they?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Those vintage events are a lot of fun, aren't they?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that I've gone to them and have the older sleds with the connection with my grandfather and my father, definitely something I'm interested in and I want to stay around.
Nice.
Hopefully in the near future we'll be able to actually get the Elan on here. Yeah.
That would be cool. And I'm going to ask people to keep an eye out for you at the next crane show. I know I'm planning to go, and I'm going to keep an eye out for you. And hopefully you'll keep an eye out for me, and hopefully we'll run into each other and hang out a little bit. And
absolutely.
Anyone viewing, if you see either of us over there at the show, please say hello.
Yeah, the more the merrier. It's definitely a tight-knit community, and everyone seems to help everybody out, and something that you can definitely grow fond of.
Yeah, for sure. It is addictive. You're right. Before we wrap this up, Brian, are you open to starting that sled up?
Yeah, sure. I'm actually fire it up right now for you.
Yeah, awesome.
It's a little cool.
Sure. No, that's cool.
Yeah. If you'd like, do you want me to fire it up again, or?
Yeah, if you feel like it. Yeah, and Outboard Marine is on here. He says, "Nice ski-doo, Brian. Thanks for sharing." So you're getting some comments here. There we go. Good deal. Well, good. Yeah, I really appreciate your coming on, Brian. That's really fun to see that, and I hope you'll come on again and show us that Elan at some point and some of your other.
Thank you very much for having me on and making me a part of this, and I definitely look forward to more in the future.
Good deal. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. We'll be in touch.
All right. Thank you very much.
All righty. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.
All right, yeah, that was Brian Robillard, and thank you so much to Brian for coming on here live. He is our first live participant in this podcast, and not our last for sure. And I'd like to have him on again real soon to show some of his other sleds. But let's take a look now at. I see a message here from Brody, which I'm going to bring that up, Brody, a little bit later in the podcast when we talk about events, because we're going to be talking about some cancellations. There we go. So we are on the menu here at item number 2. We're going to be doing some show and tell, looking at some images submitted by viewers. The first one we have is from none other than Brody that I was just speaking of a moment ago, Brody Messner, a John Deere 300. And then we got another image from Kevin Blessy. Kevin's a regular on the show. I hope he's on here tonight. If you're on here, Kevin, please make a comment so we know that you're here. This is a Super Brute Alouette, and I was asking Kevin if my eyes were playing tricks on me that looked an awful lot like a Rupp, and he said that Rupp at some point purchased Alouette, and they were sharing platforms. So yeah, we thank Kevin for that image. So where are we in the program here? Just trying to get everything. That's what I was trying to do right there. And I thank you for joining us. So let's look at the menu. I was expecting David from OMC Warehouse. He still may come on later in the program. And if he does, we'll bring him in live. But let's move on now to the next segment of the program. And then we're going to talk about that event, Brian, that Brody was talking about, because I've got another event I'm going to talk about, and we'll discuss those all together. So let me queue up our next segment here. We're going to go now to Lancaster, New Hampshire, back to September, a few months ago, when the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame held their induction ceremony. So this is just a few months ago, and we're going to watch Paul Lamontagne, one of the great racers of the East and the Midwest. He was a factory racer for Rupp and some other brands. We're going to watch him now being inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Hall of Fame, and then after, I've got some interview footage that I was able to get with him at the after party over at the Lancaster Motel. Without further ado, let's take a look at Paul.
Our next inductee is Mr. Paul Lamontagne. You can stay seated, Paul. I'll just read this. Paul Lamontagne, inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame 2020. Paul began racing snowmobiles in 1969 for a Rupp distributor, the Harris Company from Portland, Maine. He won both cross-country and in Mod 1 at the 1969 Lakes Region Open in Wolfboro, New Hampshire. Paul grabbed a first-place win in Mod 2 at Berlin, New Hampshire in 1969. He received a full sponsorship from the Bardol Oil Company for the 1970 season, racing Rupp snowmobiles. At the 1970 Maine State Championship, he won first place in both the cross-country and in Mod 4. Paul broke through Timberland Machines Incorporated Sea of Yellow by winning in Mod 3 with his Rupp at Bangor, Maine in 1970. At the 1970 Lancaster Grand Prix, he took first place in the cross-country and first place in Mod 2. Grabbed first place wins in both the 440 stock class and in Mod 2 at the 1970 Pennsylvania State Championship. Paul not only began racing chaparrals for Nelson, a small company from Portland, Maine in 1971, but helped to set up over 30 new dealers. In 1974, Mercury shipped him 2 brand new snow twisters. He went undefeated in both classes and was a shoo-in for the World Series, but was involved in a horrific crash at Boonville, New York, breaking both legs, an arm, and needing multiple skin grafts. Paul came roaring back in 1975, winning 5 out of 6 races at the season's first event in Jackman, Maine, against hundreds of top New England drivers. He won most points and the championship. With nothing more to prove, Paul retired at year's end. You know, these records that we've got here don't tell half the story of a lot of these races. It's all that we can find. Paul Lamontagne certainly won more races than what we've got here. And all of these guys did a lot more in snowmobile racing than what we've got on these plaques. It's just what, it's 50 years ago. So a lot of records were lost. Paul Lamontagne deserves to be in this Hall of Fame, and here he comes right now. Come on, Paul. You're too late.
Turn this way. Face the camera.
Thank you.
Good job, Paul. I got him. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm really proud to be joining these great guys right here. I'm choked up. But it was all worth it. I watched these guys go, and I just wanted to be like them. And I'm going to tell you right, but it would never happen without these guys here. These guys run here. Paul and Ed and the group, of course, the Lord took my lines. He sent everybody here. But anyway, it's such an honor, to be on that wall with all you folks. And I'm going to tell you right now, it was worth every bit. Every bit. And I'm going to tell you right now, there were times, where you think, well, is this worth it? But I'm going to tell you right now, if I was to know what everything I've done, I'd still do it. And all I can say is I'm very grateful. And I got a little story to tell you. And I'm going to start right now and do my little buddy over there. And listen to this. You're going to love this one. When I started racing, I was 5'4.5". Okay? And after 12 years of racing, I was 5'3.5". Well, you probably all realize this, but I used to love those cross countries. But you know how many washouts I hit and hard stuff where I felt like my neck was going down through my shoulders? Well, I'll tell you, everyone here has probably had that happen to them at one time, whether it's trail riding, whether it's on a lake and everything. And all I can say is, if I would have never raced or owned a snowmobile, I'd have probably grown up to be as tall as Cal Reynolds. I want to thank everybody, and I'm very proud to be in this group. And thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Paul. Very nice. Class act.
Thank you, Paul. Cal, did you lose any height?
So there you go. Paul Lamontagne inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame just this past September 2020. Now, after the Hall of Fame ceremony, the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame ceremony, just a short walk away, there was an after party at the Lancaster Motel. And I'm going to show you an interview I had with Paul at that after party, but I wanted to let you know that this Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame is something that's growing very quickly, and it's an incredible amount of fun. It's a great way to see all of these people from yesteryear that were so active in racing, and you're able to. It's big enough that it's exciting, but it's small enough and intimate enough that you can visit and get to know these people. You can walk right up to them and approach them and visit with them and ask them questions about racing back in the day and just get to know them. So it's an awful lot of fun. So the next induction ceremony for the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame is Saturday, September 11th, 2021, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And this takes place at Crane's Snowmobile Museum in Lancaster, New Hampshire. And if you're coming any distance to attend, you want to stay at no other place than the Lancaster Motel. It's just a short walk away from the ceremony, and that is where they have the after party, where you can meet and greet and visit with all of the racers and the inductees from that year, as well as previous years and future inductees. It's just a wonderful crowd there. A lot of people that are just really nice to visit with. And once the after party starts to wind down and you're ready to turn in for the night, your room is just a few steps away. So you don't have to drive anywhere. You can just walk to your room and call it a night. But let me get the rest of this programming here with Paul. Here's the interview that I had with Paul Lamontagne at the after party over at the Lancaster Motel. Let's take a look.
Yes, Paul, I'm so happy and proud to be a member of the inductees of this Eastern Hall of Fame. I'll tell you right now, and all the guys that were there today, I looked up to them. They were there before me, and I watched them go, and I watched them win. And I told Bruce Dunham today, my first race, I was 15 years old, and I went to a race in New Hampshire with an old Polaris, and I went out there, and I looked at all these tractor-trailer trucks and equipment, and it just gave me the bug. And I was fortunate enough, I had an old Polaris, 372 Hilo. It had a flip seat for the belts and the tools, and I got it. The first race was across country, and I actually won it. I actually won it against the Timberland crew and everything.
Nice.
But it wasn't a fast machine, but it had cleats, and there was a lot of snow. They had a snowstorm,
Yep.
So I had the advantage. So while the skidoos were spinning through the woods and everything, my big long track was digging and going. I'm just going, flying around and having a great time. But the funniest part was, the oval was next. About 3 hours later, I got in the oval with the same guys, and first thing you know, they're gone. They almost lapped me. In 5 laps, they almost lapped me. That's how slow the Polaris was. Wow. So I said, gee, I got to get another sled. I'm going to get a skidoo or something here.
Yeah.
So then at the end of the day, they had jumping. So this was my father's trail sled. So anyway, I get up there and I said, I'm going to get into the jumping. Might as well. So I don't look that high. So I get into the jumper. He's jumping. I get up there with that thing and just hit it. Up in the air. And when I come down, all the springs and the bogey wheels broke. The backrest where my mother used to sit on the back, that broke off, but the only thing that was holding it was the wire from the snowmobile.
Oh, God.
And then back then, the cleats to pull the hood out,
Yeah.
the cowl flew off, everything. And you know what I got for it? I won a little trophy, right? So on my way home, I get a flat with the trail. My father don't even know now. I took this machine to a race. It was my first race ever. Spindle broke, lost the Baron. Now I called my father, I go into this guy's house with no cell phone. Hey, Dad, I'm in New Hampshire. He drives up. He says, what are you doing? I went to race today. He says, you did? So he says, how'd you do? I says, well, I got 2 little trophies. I got one for the cross country, and I got one for the jumping. He looks at his machine. The backrest is missing. Where you keep the tools, all the tools are gone. I lost all the tools. And then he looks, the cowling snaps are all broken. And then he looks underneath. Every spring was broken. Back then it was all bogey wheels. He says, and now I got to take this home. He says, yeah, Dad, we got to load it, put it in a truck, and then we'll throw the trailer. It was unbelievable. That was my first race ever. And Bruce Dunham that day won every race.
Wow.
Every race. And the Timberland crew were all there. And that's when I got the bug. That was it.
You were hooked after that, huh?
And the following week after that, I went to see a guy that rented snowmobiles that had a 370 offset skidoo,
Yeah.
offset skidoo. And I told him what happened. He says, Paul, I'll sell you my sled. It was a mod sled. And he says, I'll sell it to you. I said, how much? He says, $800. I go, $800. All right. So I bought that. And then I went on to Berlin, New Hampshire, and won my first race with that sled.
Wow.
And a guy saw me. This is a great story. A guy saw me win with that sled. He came up to me and says, his name was Bob Gowan. Never knew him, never saw him before. He come over with his wife. He says, "Are you racing Lancaster next week, the big race international?" I says, "Yes, I'm going to go with this machine." He says, "Would you like to drive my 340 mod Skidoo for me?" I says, "Sure." So we met. I never saw the machine. I got up to Lancaster right here. Actually, I stayed in this motel right here. And I took his sled. They had a cross country. So I went to cross country with my sled. But listen to this. He brings the sled to me. He says, "Go ahead." We get in the race. I win the oval against all the best riders around. And the worst part is I was all full of mud. With 2 laps to go, I was in the lead. My throttle broke. But back then, the carburetor is right in front of you. So I reached down and just ran the throttle one hand and drove. Finished the 2 laps with it. And from that day on, believe it or not, I gave him the trophy. I got the money. I never saw that man again.
Wow.
Ever again. And it was just unbelievable. And they tore me down, make sure it was illegal.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got started racing.
Wow.
And then 2 weeks later, the guy saw me in Berlin and then saw me in Lancaster. And that's when the Rupp guys approached me to race for them for Rupp. And it was a full boat. Never bought rented a room, bought a chewing gum, food, everything. I was taken care of for 10 straight years from Rupp. And then I also raced for Chaparral. I was also raced for Bottle Gold. And back then I had a Polaris 650, a 340 cat, and a 400 stock. I had 3 brands, all with their lettering and everything. And then we did that. And then after that, I got back. Rupp wanted me to stay, just do Rupps, not cat and Polaris. So then I went into all the mod stuff. We made everything modifieds. And that's just how it went. And it just went on. And later on in years, the Mercury called me up, Lyle Forsgren from Rupp, the Rupp factory, because he saw me race at Eagle River out there and got 2 seconds at Eagle River with his the 340 mod Rupps. And he says, "Paul, I'm working for Mercury now, and I want to send you 2 sleds from the factory. I want you to race for us, to be the first Mercury's to hit Maine." And they said that to me, and it was unbelievable. It was just, those sleds was just so fast, so ahead of everybody else, that it was unbelievable that I never lost a 295 mod or 400 stock to race the whole winter, not even a heat or semifinal. It was like ridiculous. And the worst part is, I got to say this, I only used 4 belts on 2 sleds the whole winter.
And the interview continues. Here's part 2 of that
It was
interview.
amazing. I do all my own clutch work back then. The first year I didn't even have a mechanic.
Wow.
You didn't need one. The sled was so unbelievable. All I do was lube my clutches, and that's it, and get my steering down and my scudding.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. And then in Boonville, if I wouldn't have got hurt in Boonville, I would have liked to have been gone to Eagle River, because I was favored to win a couple of sleds. And there was nothing. It's not like they were close races. They were like slaughters. The machines were so much faster.
Yeah.
And then I took that year off the heel and came back. And Dick Lane out of Good Oliver Road, he says, "Paul, you want to go back in the race?" I says, "Makes no difference to me." He said, "Well, I got a couple of sleds for you." And they came up with a 250 and a 440s. And we took that up to Jackman. Everybody came up from everywhere. Even Brad Hollins was when they raced 3 classes against me.
Yeah.
He won 1 and I won 2. And that's how we met. Became friends. And it was fantastic. And then I won 5 out of 6 features. And people looked at me saying they never thought I'd ever race again, because I had to take a whole year just to heal my legs and my shoulders and arms. But I went on for 6 more weeks and I retired in Lancaster, right here. 12 years when I first started. How's that?
Wow.
I retired on a Saturday. I didn't even stay for Sunday. I retired on a Saturday, the day I started. I says, "This is it. I'm done. I had another child coming. I was building a house. I had a fuel oil business. I just didn't have the time anymore."
Yeah.
And I says, "This is it." So, but after that, between you and I, I've been still snowmobiling for the last 22 winters.
Nice, recreationally.
Recreationally. I'm
Good.
up in Jackman, Maine. I'm in Canada. I'm in Moosehead. I'm in Rangeley. I'm everywhere. And I still enjoy riding. And I don't know, I'll probably be 95. I'll still be riding.
Yeah.
But I want to, but it's the thing. Plus, I never had a chance to thank all the great mechanics I had. There were so many, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That it's unbelievable. But they know who they are. Some of it passed. But Bob Thompson was my big one. And then Lou Alcone, who traveled the country with me. And Roger Sanborn. And it's just, and of course, I'm not going to forget Dick Lane. We call him Doc Lane because he's like a little professor, working on motors. We call him Doc Lane. That's how he got his nickname. And we built some nice sleds together. And that's how we won races as a team, as friendship. And and to this day, these people are still my friends. And I get to ride with friends that I raced with years ago. Actually, 6 of us rented a whole motel for the last 10 years in Jackman, Maine. They were all ex-racers.
Oh, when you went trail riding?
When we trail ride.
Nice.
So we go riding. Well, of course, we still race.
It's competitive sometimes?
Competitive. We get a little competitive. And we do this. And like I say, for 22 years, they asked me, "Well, Paul, what are you doing tomorrow?" They all show up. And, I had a camp there for 12 years. We all show up, and I take them off trail here, there. And they say, "Geez, we got to ride with Paul. He's going to take us here, take us there." And we just don't stop.
Yeah.
And I just love the sport. And I feel bad for a lot of people that haven't got into it.
Yeah.
And the funniest part is when they do get into it, I don't care if they're great golfers. I've got guys that I brought down that are great golfers, great skiers, mogul skiers. And now they're all riding snowmobiles, and they're all off trail, and they only wish they could have done this when they were younger.
Yeah, I bet.
So, but anyway, and I want to thank you for what you're doing here, and at least to let people know that, it's never too late. I've got people that never rode a snowmobile that are 7 years old, and they're up there every weekend. They can't wait for Friday.
Nice.
They can't wait for Thursday. Some of these guys are retired, and once they get on them, now there's no more. It's not like the old days. Your hands stay clean. You don't change belts.
Yeah.
The machines run. You put gas in them, you ride. Gas in them, you ride. You probably put oil in them if you got a two-stroke. You just put oil in them probably every 300-400 miles. It's a whole different thing. And if people get into it, they'll go, wow, never mind, staying at home 100 days, I'm 70 years old, I come to the end of my, but you're not. Everybody, if you're healthy, you feel good, the fresh air, everything. And when you get done, the fun starts, after the riding. And, but I'd like to see more people, get into it. They don't have to race, but just get into the sport, and they're going to say, wow, what have I missed? And they'll be there. They'll be there, and they're going to say, this is unbelievable.
You're right, because even recreationally, it's a whole lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And you get people, we got guys out there 80, 85 years old going to Canada on weekends, going here and there, and they've been doing it for 25, 30 years, and they won't stop. They say, well, they'll bury me, then I'll stop.
Yeah.
And you run into these people everywhere. And like I say, the equipment, everything's warmer now, handlebars,
Yeah.
the seats,
The
the
clothing,
suits, the equipment.
yeah.
It's not like the old days. The
No.
old days, you worked on them for 3 hours, you rode them for 1.
Yes.
And then you
Yeah.
come back, you're frozen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is a whole different, and so this is what this interview, I'd love to see more people get into it, and you're never too old. And I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to tell you what I've noticed, all these young guys, 20, 21, 20, up to 30, they've all given up different sports just to do off-trail snowmobiling now. That is the biggest coming thing.
Yeah.
With their GoPros and everything, they go up into the woods, they're in snow 4 or 5 feet, and they're taking pictures of each other, going climbing mountains. And they love it. And these
Yeah.
guys are all great skiers, they're all good athletes, and they said, man, this is where it's at. So now
Yeah.
everybody's buying these 3-inch paddles,
Yeah.
153-inch tread,
Yeah.
and they go, this is the light, and they're up on top of mountains going, are you kidding me? There's nothing better than this.
Yeah, it's
so I
amazing.
love to see the new young generation. And they don't have to race because they're doing it amongst themselves,
Yeah.
climbing, so they're getting a thrill, and they're filming everything. Everything's filmed. So, and they go back at night, and they put it in, and they watch each other, guy bury his sled, but anyway, this is one interview I'm glad we've had, and I just hope more people get into it, especially the young kids,
The legendary Paul Lamontagne has been inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. And I very much encourage you to come and join us for the next induction ceremony of the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. It is so much fun. You get to meet and greet these people, get to know them, and inductees from previous years and future years are there, as well as, of course, the inductees that are being inducted that day. It's at Crane's Snowmobile Museum. You can go in the museum, walk around and check out all the sleds, and then it's just a short walk to the Lancaster Motel right after that, where they have the after party. And again, you're able to visit and meet and greet and get to know these racers and ask them questions and visit with them. It's just an amazing time. And if you have any interest at all in vintage snowmobiling or any interest in racing from yesteryear, it's a don't miss event. It's I don't know. I just can't say enough about it. I have just a really good time every time I go there. Now let's move on to the next segment of the program. Let's see where we are on the program here. We're at number 5, upcoming vintage snowmobile events. Now, our friend Brody had made a comment about a Midwest ride-in. This is in Elk River, Minnesota. That event has been postponed until 2022, so they're not going to have it this coming winter. He said, look at Midwest ride-in. They have a Facebook page. Search for Midwest Ride-In on Facebook for more information. And that, unfortunately, is the case for a lot of upcoming events. Before I switch to the next one, hello, everyone, from James Logana. James and Judy Rinaldi, great job, Paul. Excellent. Well, thank you for checking in, James. So let's go back to this other event that has sadly been canceled. This is one of my favorite events. This is the event. I'm going to run some footage. Let's see if it'll let me talk. And
I'm Matt Trask from Corinth, Vermont. We've got a 70.
Whoops. That was the wrong wrong video. Let's try this one. Okay, so this is footage from the Washington Snow Flyers Vintage Snowmobile Rally in Washington, Vermont. This is footage from last year. This is one of the better shows in New England. And they typically have it on the first Saturday of January every year. And I've been in touch with them this week, and they informed me that they're not going to be having it this year, which is really sad because it's a great event. But with everything as crazy as it is, I understand why some of these events are being canceled. That being said, there are other events that are not being canceled, and we want to make sure and patronize those to the best of our ability, and to be safe at the same time, which is a delicate balance, but I believe it's possible. And we'll be talking more about some of those upcoming events on future podcasts. But one of the other things that I wanted to show you is my fancy schmancy. Let me try to get this on the camera. Check out my new hat that came in today. I ordered that a little while ago, and it came in today. It's got my logo on it, and I'm really pleased with it. Now, I've also got some mugs coming that are going to be really nice looking, and at some point, I wish I would have had my act together enough to do this for Christmas so people could buy these to give to people as Christmas presents, but I just the timing isn't going to happen this year. But I am going to make these hats and some really nice mugs available for people to purchase. I'm going to put together a package where you can buy a mug and some DVDs and a sticker, or a hat and some DVDs and a sticker, or a mug and a hat and some DVDs and a sticker. Put together some packages that people can buy and make them available. It's still a few weeks out. It won't be until into the new year that these are available. But if you're curious about getting a hat like this or one of the mugs, which I'll hopefully have on here next week to show you, leave a message, leave a comment in the comment area. Let me know whether or not you're interested. And there's another way to comment. Send me an email at this address, and I can send you an email once I'm ready with these packages, and I can let you know about it. So you can purchase one if you'd like to. So that's my email address there, Vintage Snowmobile Lovers @gmail.com. If you'd like to get a nice hat like this with a couple of DVDs and a sticker and maybe even a mug, I'm going to have some packages available for you in the new year where you can do exactly that. I'll get a bunch of these hats printed up as well as some mugs, and we can all be sporting them at various events. All right, what is next on the podcast? We have a Puma 793 that Brad Curtis shared this video with us. This is a video, I believe, that is from his YouTube channel, and this is his brother riding this sled. So let's take a look at this footage from Brad. There you have it. Boy, I love the sound of that engine, and I don't know about you, but I could smell that two-stroke from here just watching the video. Hopefully you could as well. So we've got one more thing here to play for you. It's a video that I took. You remember me talking to you a moment ago about the Washington Snowflyers Vintage Snowmobile Rally. Well, this is some footage from when I was there a couple of years ago. I met Matt Trask. He told me, I was emailing with him earlier today. He said he might be watching this. So hopefully you're watching this, Matt. And you can take a look at this footage that we did a couple of years ago where we first met. He's got some really interesting Massey Ferguson snowmobiles. Let's take a look.
I'm Matt Trask from Corinth, Vermont. We've got a 71 Ski Whiz. Both of them are 71s, actually. The other one over here is original motor, original sled. This one's my mod sled, my powder Ski Whiz. If you want to come take a look at it. I put a 136-inch track with a slide suspension under there. Made the powder jump out running boards.
Oh yeah, look at that.
I've got modern plastic skis that I made brackets for the leaf springs. So got some powder skis on there that actually turn, and some carbide
Good
scabs.
flotation.
Under the hood, on this one we've got a 488 fan stuffed in there with kind of a gnarly homemade exhaust, but it goes pretty good.
And did you extend the tunnel too?
Just a little bit, yeah. This was a pretty long sled to begin with, and it had the gas tank back here originally, but I wanted a compartment to put snowshoes or whatever and out in the woods. So I made this gas tank for the front. I cut out the console and put that gas tank in there.
Yeah, nice.
So this one, originally it was like this. The tank was in the back. This one's all the original setup. It has a JLO 340 in it. The only real modification I did to this one was put a just more reliable clutch on there. And I switched it to a Mikuni carburetor instead of the Tilted, which I had to make a bracket for that because the tilts in on this one went straight up and down, and the Coonies won't run on that much of an angle.
Yeah.
But that really just made it much more reliable. Anyone that's had teams knows about playing with those things.
Sure.
So yeah, that's about it with these guys.
Nice.
They're fun.
Nice. That's wonderful. They start and run real good and
Yeah,
everything?
they do.
Nice. You wouldn't fire it up by any chance?
Yeah, we'll fire it up. Well, I say that, we'll start.
Of course.
Anyone who has a vintage sled knows the deal with that.
Absolutely. And anytime you video with people watching, you know, it's gonna jinx you. Nice, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem. You want to hear this one?
Yeah, absolutely.
This one's a little louder.
All right. It's been modded, right?
Well, it's not the original motor.
Sure. Nice.
It runs.
I like the sound of that. You can tell it's tuned.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's a great video right there. I love those sleds that he has. Thank you so much, Matt, for doing that video with me. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, the time has come to wind down the podcast. So we're going to do exactly that. I thank you for viewing, and thank you also for following me over here from Facebook over to YouTube. I really appreciate that. Things ought to be back to normal next week. And I thank you for your patience with that. And we will look forward to catching up with you next week. Before we close, let's take a look at this video from the folks at Mad Ramps.
It's the ultimate combination of simplicity and ingenuity. The newest way to load, unload, and transport your ATV or UTV. The Mad Ramps Pivoting Ramp System. Made in the USA and engineered for strength and durability. Maneuver through tight places and over rugged terrain with plenty of ground clearance. No licensing, no ongoing maintenance costs, and no storage hassles like trailers. Won't slip or move like conventional ramps. Free up more cargo space in the bed of your truck. Securely connects to your truck's receiver hitch. Easily extends for safe loading and unloading. Seamlessly retracts for highway and off-road travel. DOT approved in all 50 states and Canada. Quickly disconnects in under a minute. A unique space-saving storage system. The Mad Ramps Pivoting Ramp System. Go farther. Go faster. Go safer.
When you order using the link in the description, I'll send you 3 free Vintage Snowmobile DVDs. When you order using the link in the description, I'll send you 3 free Vintage Snowmobile DVDs. Hey.